Good day, good day, Gambia. Welcome to yet another edition of D-Steak. Well, today I want to talk about the bread crisis we witnessed yesterday in the Gambia and to explain to people why certain markets should be left unregulated. Because the more we fiddle as government into these markets, we create distortions. And these distortions are not only price related, but quality related. Bread is an essential commodity in every household in the Gambia. Our use for bread in terms of our daily consumption is quite significant, and there is no household in this country that is not dependent on flour, particularly bread, for their daily sustenance. Therefore, capping a price on this product creates a problem. And it's very simple. If government want the price of bread to be $6, they may in the short term achieve their objective. But what they fail to realize that the functions or input that build up a price are not static but rather dynamic. You look at importation for a minute. When you want to buy flour in the commodity market, you have different quotes on different dates, thereby saying that every particular shipment has its own price build-up. Therefore, a static price cannot accommodate for a fixed price. A dynamic price, rather, cannot accommodate for a fixed bread price in the market. So if government wants to fix the price of bread at $6 or $7, for example, it's the consumer once again that's going to suffer. How? When businesses understand that these prices are fixed and can't change, and they still want to maintain a decent margin, the quality suffers. And in the case of bread production, simple. Get more yeast, change the shape of the bread in terms of size, but what's inside the bread will be nothing but air pockets. So people are getting less value for money. Even the $6 they're paying, they're not getting $6 in value of bread as it relates to what they're giving, because the producer is still making sure that he or she has a decent margin or return on the input they put in, be it the flour and everything else. Therefore, when we talk about government's non-intervention in markets, it's a reality. And it's a reality that Gambians need to understand. See, politically, it feeds on people's emotion that the government needs to intervene on prices. But it's not good for the average consumer. Markets clear themselves. Markets do have equilibrium, and businesses have a right to live and right to die. And sometimes the decisions they make will determine their viability, and pricing is one of those decisions. If a business prices itself out of the market, they will not get what they require. Therefore, we should leave the bread market to be very open, very competitive, and in that competitive state, it will allow the Gambian consumer to have a high quality, because now bakeries are competing on quality. It will allow the Gambian consumer to have better pricing, because bakeries will now compete on pricing. Government has no business in the business of business, let alone regulating the prices of commodities. And I'm talking about the food commodities we consume. I mean, I've heard people talk the government needs to intervene because price levels are high. But see, price levels are determined by other exogenous factors that play a part in our economy. Foreign exchange, price of energy, price of transportation, taxation. These are all inputs into the final price that a consumer pays for a product or service. Therefore, just looking at one side of an equation and holding that down, yes, the forceful arm of government may win to a point to make sure that there is price stability, but that price stability has compromised the quality of what the average Gambian consumer receives. We should advocate for government to create an environment where businesses compete on a level playing field. We should advocate for an environment where importers pay the right duties wherever applicable and pay the right taxes wherever applicable. What that does, it gives somehow a uniform cost structure for all the competing bakeries and sellers of flour to make sure that their flour is sold relatively at the same price, because they're all buying from the international market. If the quality is the same, they're paying similar taxes if there are no discretions, and that allows for the market to have a symmetry. That symmetry allows Gambians to enjoy a market efficient environment where the prices are reflective of the cost incurred by the importers and bakeries. Rice is the same issue. The more we try to, inbuild price controls, we make the average Gambian consumer suffer in terms of quality of product sold to them. On the issue of flour, on the issue of bread, I will remind the government that Economics 101 is still a reality, and you know what? It is here to stay. That businesses are here to make profits, but if they think they can over-profit here on the market, they will price themselves out, thereby going out of business. Once again, I hope that the government, the Ministry of Trade, who are fervent advocates of price control, to understand that you cannot control price. Price has determinants, and these determinants cannot be negated. We live in an open forex market where we have a flexible foreign exchange regime. This foreign exchange regime is not a static regime, it's dynamic, floating. Therefore, the price of dollar, which is used as a benchmark to pay for imports, varies on a day-to-day basis. That in itself contradicts price controls. Let's allow the market to clear itself. Let's allow the market to take care of its issues. You see, the invincible hand, like Adam Smith would love to say, sometimes don't have a place in a market. Let's allow everything to take care of itself, thereby allowing markets to clear. Bread will always be an essential household commodity for Gambians. Having said that, it doesn't need price distortion because the quality is more important to the average household than the price. And price, once again, cannot be controlled in the area of bread. The more government pushes for a price control, the more government will make sure that its citizenry, its substandard bread, filled with yeast. That's not what we want. We want fluffy loaf of bread that is substantial both in weight and in nutritional content. Having said that, let's open up the market. Let's take the restrictions out of the bread market. Let's allow the bread market to regulate itself, control itself, believing that the Gambian consumer knows quality and will pay value for money. If we do that, everyone will be happy and everyone will be fine. And let's begin by moving away from controlling commodities, especially basic commodities that average household need on a daily basis. And for Gambian consumers, I'll tell you one thing. There's nothing like a free lunch. No one can control an importer to sell you below cost. The more that is forced onto them, the more they'll give you substandard product. The choice is yours, Gambia. Choose what you want, and I do believe quality is what you want. And if quality is what you want, we will advocate for a free market with less stringent government intervention. Yes, regulation in public utilities and other things is economically feasible, but on this, government has no business in it. So, till I come your way again, this was D-Steak, just telling you his take on the issue of bread that has consumed Gambians in the past 24 hours. So long and take care.